Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mr. Westford podcast, or podcast channel, whatever this is, if I can speak clearly. And anyways, welcome, everybody. Today I got Nikolas with me. And Nikolas, want to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Nikolas. I am I'm a guy, right? I'm an Orthodox Christian, and I'm here to talk about flat Earth cosmology, biblical cosmology, I call it.
And I found out, I first heard you on the Church of the Eternal Logos channel. There was a discussion about ancient cosmology versus like modern cosmology, whatever you want to say, flat versus globe. And I definitely felt like it was getting into polemics, and I didn't feel like it was enough of a discussion just about about the views themselves or whatever. So I wanted to bring you on and give you a chance to present it. I don't know if you've done this in any place else, but I liked what you had to say. Even if I don't agree, I'll just come out and say that the way I look at the world is through a globe model, and I wouldn't say that I'm like married to it, or I've never really even looked into the issue too much. I know that it's been a conversation for at least a decade now in pretty widely spread conversation. The first time I really encountered it, I had a friend, I was a coworker, and he started talking about it all the time. I just wrote him off. I was like, this guy's crazy. He's just insane. He was like, oh, I don't know, man, you got to look at these pictures. You got to see these sites I'm looking at. I'm like, I don't know. I just straight up looked at him as a crazy person. And, but now I've, especially after the big event that happened a couple years ago, it would make sense if I just looked at it narratively of why, there's these things that we're being lied to about the official narrative, however you want to say it. And there are things that are being pushed that are clearly not for our benefit, whether they are injections in our body that cause us damage or whatever. But so it makes sense. It's almost like a romantic conspiracy candy for me if flat Earth was true. You're going to present a lot of stuff here that I probably would never even have looked at before. So I guess one question I have would be, if this is a conspiracy, would you think there's a conspiracy to push the globe Earth, or do you think it's just how it is and there's not like a conspiracy aspect to it?
Well, to start, when I first heard about it, I was the exact same. I had that same reaction. I dismissed it immediately. I thought the person who was telling me that was gone mentally ill.
Yep.
You think it just sounds ridiculous. We've been told our whole lives that we live on a ball.
Right.
Every single time you watch the news, there's a globe. Every movie that starts, there's a globe. Universal Studios, you see that nonstop. They talk about the globe, around the globe, around the globe. That's all we hear, right? From a child. It's been very deeply rooted in us. So it's a belief that it's not possible to change overnight. So I understand that as well. When people hear it, they have some have an immediate rejection to it. But I think through the last couple of years with the whole thing that happened, people have now understood that there is high level corruption. There is global cooperation between governments to push their nefarious schemes, if you want to call it that. And if you look at the evidence, objectively, that's why I came to this conclusion. Right? I didn't want to be a flat earther. When I first heard about it, I thought it was ridiculous. I'm sure all the people watching think it's the dumbest thing ever. I thought that as well. So I had no incentive to believe this. But as for, is it a corruption, like a conspiracy? Yeah, I do think it is. I think that it is personally, I think it's a direct attack on the Bible. I think it's a direct attack on creation, because if we live in a flat, because I'll have to show the understanding of what I believe, because people have a misunderstanding, I guess you could say. But it is a deception, because it pushes this whole you came from nothing, you came from rocks, you came from monkeys,
right?
And you're on a little speck of dust in an infinite vacuum with a bunch of a trillion other rocks and stars. You're not special. You don't occupy a special position. It's all random. That's what they want you to believe. Even as Christians, obviously, when I still believed in the heliocentric model as a Christian, I sometimes wrestle with, well, why would God have created all these other planets? Why would he have created all this other stuff if we're the center and the purpose of creation? So I do think it is. I think where it's led it's led to nihilism a lot, and atheism specifically. You can't have atheism without this heliocentric model. It's incompatible. This is the only way. Obviously, I don't think atheism works regardless, but on its face, if we are the center of all creation, and the universe or everything was built specifically for us, there's no argument to be made that there is no God. And I think one of Satan's biggest tools right now and biggest weapons is the lack of belief in God, convincing people that God isn't real and that we're just that life is meaningless and pointless. But I think that's the reason they push it.
So you think that, because I try to think about, like before we had this conversation, I wrote a whole bunch of notes and questions I would have. As somebody who's, like I said, never really investigated, I've always looked at it as kind of silly, but the last couple of years has made me go, well, why do I believe it's a globe? I mean, I was taught that in school and all this stuff, and I look at it as either way, whether it's not true because I learned it, and it's not false because other people are presenting evidence. And I don't think it's necessarily false because the people that are pushing it also happen to be pushing, these injections or any other thing that clearly is harming us and harming our children, that are, the way that our factory farms and all these different things are in how the world's going, the modernity, if you want to speak in some layman terms, I suppose, without violating TOS. But I don't think it necessarily it follows that because these people are clearly nefarious and they push the flat earth or they believe in it, that therefore it's false. I think it could be that it's false. Sorry. Yeah, I meant globe. These people that believe in the globe and push it, the scientism or whatever, just because I think that's like a genetic fallacy or something like that. I'm not saying that you're making that, but I've heard people say that, how can you trust them because of X, Y, and Z other thing they did, fake landings on certain places. How can you trust them? It's like, well, I mean, broken clocks right twice a day. It doesn't follow that this is wrong just because it's a dubious source. But what would you say is because you kind of mentioned it there, that the reason they'd be pushing it as a conspiracy top-down kind of thing is to provide an opening for people to have a nihilistic, atheistic viewpoint? Because I was trying to think, like, for me, looking at it biblically and looking at it from an Orthodox perspective, it wouldn't really necessarily affect my day-to-day life with my family and my parish and all of that. I think it could have, obviously it's a world, it'd be affecting the way I view the world, but I don't know if it would affect me on a practical level. So what would you say is like you would say it's the atheist push, right? Is that what you'd say is how it's a conspiracy?
I wouldn't present that as proof, obviously. But right. That is the reason, if we're going to speculate, because it's it's an empirically verified thing, the physical structure of the earth. It's not like a philosophical, or shouldn't be, but we can speculate. I can't prove their motive, but I can see a pretty clear reason right there, because it arises to atheism and nihilism, the belief that nothing matters and we're in an infinite expanse on a rock. It's not special. There's a billion other rocks, and that we're just kind of in a mess. That God created a messy universe. And I'm not saying you can believe in heliocentrism and Christianity. I don't think that it directly contradicts it, but I think that even if we get into the scriptures, I think that the scriptures support, like the Genesis account supports, I guess my understanding, you could call it, but a flat ancient cosmology. So should I pull up a photo of it just so people understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah, sure, you can pull it. And I guess this isn't like a debate. We're not trying to debunk each other. It's a discussion. I'm just here to ask questions as somebody who's on the outside of the debate, not really on either side. The way I honestly look at it is, I've heard Peugeot say that phenomenologically the earth is flat. We experience it as such. You walk out and it's not moving. The heavens are above you. The earth is below you. It appears flat to us from a phenomenological perspective, but scientifically we have these instruments that can show us that the curvature of the earth and the spinning and the heavens and all that. That's kind of how I viewed it.
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
I've been asked to read the chats. We'll get to chats. If you have questions or anything, just make sure to repeat them so they pop to the top, and I'll get to them.
So this is this is pretty much the understanding. There isn't, I don't believe in like a vacuum of space with other planets. That's I believe that the stars and the planets and the stuff that we see in the sky are lights in the sky, as God said in Genesis. I think that they're for times and for seasons and for days, and And yeah, I don't think there's other planets in that sense. Planet, the word planet comes from a Greek word which means wandering star. So pretty much planets would just be wandering stars with their own orbits and in their own paths, and they are for seasons pretty much and times. It's like a giant clock that God created.
Okay, so like you like the planets I learned in school, Pluto, and I guess that's not a one anymore, but Jupiter and all those would just be wandering stars under this model.
Yes, yeah. So another thing that's quite funny is they're not the planets are all named after pagan gods. After your Neptune, your Jupiter, your Venus, Mars, all these ones. The funny thing is about Jupiter. So Jupiter supposedly was named Jupiter before we got photos of it, before we fully understood it, as what they tell us it is, right? If you look at Jupiter, it's the one with the storm, right? It's got the massive storm on it.
Yeah,
They say it's the storm planet,
big
right?
circle. Yeah.
And coincidentally, Jupiter is actually the storm god in the whatever it is, ancient Greek. So that's just an interesting. I guess you could chalk it up to coincidence, but I think it's a bit of a nefarious thing where they leave a little bit of a trail so you can see it, like hidden in plain sight, the truth. But I think it's kind of coincidental, that the one planet that has the biggest storm is coincidentally the one that was named after the storm god before we even knew what the supposed planet was composed of. But yeah, that's what stars are, and planets.
Okay, someone's asking, are you saying that the Earth is the only thing that there is?
Yes, pretty much. It is. It is the Earth, and then we're on the pillars of the world, right? Held up, and there's waters above and waters below, divided by a firmament or a dome. And the sun, the moon, and the stars are all in the dome. They're all in the firmament. We can't get to them, and that's pretty much the understanding.
So you believe the firmament is like a physical object?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that you can kind of logically deduce that. I can give an argument for that specifically if you want.
Yeah, sure. Because I mean, I read that. I'm like, It's like, it's always felt to me similarly. Saint Basil says that we can say that the Son is begotten of the Father and that the Holy Spirit proceeds of the Father, but what are the contents of that? I mean, it's like if it hasn't been revealed to us and hasn't been revealed to us, the firmament feels similar to that. Like, oh yes, there's a firmament. What that means, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, it's hard. It doesn't give us an extremely clear outline of what that is, but the understanding is basically that there's waters above and there's waters below, and the firmament divides the waters above from the waters below, and it's our dome, it's our world. When God flooded the world, He opened up the windows of the firmament, and I believe that literally. I believe that He literally opened up the heavens, the dome, and waters rushed in. That's where all the water came from for the flood. But what were you saying a second ago? Sorry. The firmament, how to prove
firmament,
it.
Yeah.
So pretty much, we have a gas pressure on our Earth. It's like how we can breathe, right? We all know that we have measurable gas pressure. Space is thought to be a vacuum of such strength that we can't even possibly come close to replicating it on Earth. It's a near perfect vacuum for all intents and purposes. You can't have a pressurized system next to a vacuum without a physical container. You cannot replicate it. They say, and I'll steel man their argument, they say that gravity is pulling the atmosphere down, right? It's causing it to stay here. I find an issue with that because that is begging the question essentially of, well, the Earth has no container, so therefore, you can have gas pressure without a container is the only time they can ever give an account for it. If you ever try to test this, like let's say, gravity is supposedly holding the pressure down, right? If I get a vacuum and I put it on the ground on the surface of the Earth, the gravity is the strongest at the surface of the Earth, and I have a vacuum and I put it inside another vacuum, right? Sorry, if I have a pressurized system, like a pressurized container, and I put it in another vacuum, and then I robotically or wirelessly open the one container with the gas, the gravity should theoretically be holding that gas to the bottom of that container. Why would it fill the vacuum if gravity is sufficient to hold gas to the ground or to the surface? And we don't see that. The gas disperses in all directions. It'll fill the void. You can do this as many times as you want. You can put the other vacuum in another in a bigger vacuum, and the same thing will happen. So other than begging the question, like I guess you can rationalize that, but other than a begging the question fallacy, where they invoke the thing that is in question, like the Earth, right, having no container, I've never seen a demonstration that you can have gas pressure without a physical container. So that
is their argument that it's so big and massive out of the, like, for it to happen, it has to be such a large scale that we can't reproduce on a small scale? Is that the argument?
I guess so. Yeah. Pretty much. They come up with stuff like that, but yeah, they pretty much say that is exactly. Yeah, they invoke the Earth, and they stand firm in that position. They don't move. Like, even when you're saying you're begging what's in question, they just say no. But so that's the steel man of their model on that. I mean, you can find that convincing or not. I don't find it very convincing that we can't possibly replicate it without a physical container. Gas disperses evenly in all directions. It's not like it's got a downward bias, as it theoretically should, if it's being pulled down by gravity specifically.
So you're saying that the firmament being a solid object makes this a closed system where it would be pressurized and it wouldn't have the vacuum of space eat up our atmosphere in that way. And that without the firmament, there has to be some account of why the atmosphere is not leaving the Earth without a sealed container.
Yes, yeah, that's pretty much that.
Okay. Nadim asked a minute ago, where planes be flying?
They would be flying the same as a globe. It's actually quite interesting that all plane patterns and in military documents and even NASA documents where they're talking about how their planes fly, they fly and treat the Earth as if it's flat and stationary. Yep. I can pull up NASA documents if you want. That is
true. I have a friend who's former Navy who was a jet pilot, and he's recently become flat Earth curious, and he said that's 100% true. All of the things that we use in the jet to take measurements and our radar and everything assumes a flat Earth model. It all has that baked in. I don't know exactly how, but that's him as a jet pilot says that.
Yeah, so planes would work the exact same. It wouldn't be, it actually wouldn't work on a globe if you want to get into it, because if you've got a plane flying on a globe, they have a gyroscope that holds a rigid frame, a reference frame, and the pilot, if he's flying around a ball, the calculation actually is he would have to drop 1 mile in curvature per, I think, 2 minutes or something. I forget the exact number, but basically the plane is not dipping its nose to account for the curvature. The plane is flying level and stationary, right? So if this plane is on this path, but the Earth is curving like that, he's going to end up in space. You're not going to be keeping a level flight with the globe, with the ball. So that's another thing. I don't think planes I don't think they would work on a globe. If you treat the Earth as a globe and you fly the plane, you're going to kill everyone. That's why they say treat it as if it's flat and stationary, which is quite interesting that a lot of the things that we do, surveying, plane surveying, assumes a flat Earth for up to 100 miles. Building, no builders account for gravity or for curvature. So when we're actually putting it into practical use, no one treats the Earth like it's a ball.
Nadim says again, do you have any arguments that Orthodox Christians need to believe in flat Earth, or is it fine? This is just your worldview. Is it something that, because I remember you said that it was something that enhanced or strengthened your faith. So I was wondering what you meant by that.
Personally, I think that it's helped. It has strengthened my faith a lot, because I can see when it says in the Bible, like, specifically about the firmament, or the Earth isn't moving. The Earth is fixed. It says it about, I think, 5 times, 6 times. There's verses like that where I can look at and go, yeah, that's literal. And modern science is lying to me. Modern science is the wrong.
Oh, yeah. I agree that there's tons of things modern science is like. Evolution is just straight up fairy tale. It's nonsense. It doesn't hold any water under scrutiny. We can look at the political influences of who was pushing it, why they're pushing it. Had a lot to do with eugenics and such, but that's another conversation. Skeptic is saying, Nadim, I think flat Earth is not as detrimental as evolution. You can't be theistic evolutionist, but you can be flat earther theistic. You can be theist or atheist. No, you said you don't think you can be an atheist flat earther, right?
No. I mean, you can still be like, some people could still go off the rails around the spiritual path or whatever, but it
New agey
necessitates
stuff.
a creator. Yeah, it necessitates a creator. There is no atheist flat earther. It doesn't exist. A lot of people
Okay.
I know actually specifically have come to Christ almost through it, through the validity of it. Because once you understand, that we are the center of all creation, you look at the Genesis account, and I think that gives a pretty clear account. I do think it depicts a flat and stationary, creation. Like, for example, I don't think it's compatible with the heliocentric model. I wouldn't say you have to believe it as Orthodox, right? But I think that some verses don't make sense. Some things don't make sense. Like in the Genesis account, the sun isn't made till day 4. The earth is made on day 1, or forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think it's day 1, right? So there's like 3 days where there's no sun, but there's life was on the earth. There was light. How does this? And I guess you can say God miraculously did it, but
Or it was like there wasn't a fall. I mean, this is where it's to me, a lot of this, even if we can come up with good logical or evidential proofs, we are talking about the deep past, and we don't have access to that. We can fall into the trap of assuming the past is like today. I mean, biblically, we know that men lived hundreds of years, so we know that at least some things about the past are not like today. So would you think that there was any effect to this cosmology, the firmament, or anything due to the effects of the fall? Or do you think was there anything different between pre-fall, post-fall? Because even saying the sun was on day 4 and the earth was earlier day, pre-fall, it could be everything was illumined by the divine energies of God, the uncreated light, and then he's establishing luminescence in the firmament. I mean, I don't think that people can be like, well, look, no sun, there's a sun, how is there light? It's like, well, God is the father of lights. He's uncreated light. So
I agree with you, yeah. But I take that and you put it together with like in Joshua, where the sun stood still. It says the Bible says that the sun moves like a whole heap of times, right? It doesn't say the earth stopped spinning. It says the sun stood still.
Right.
Verses like that, the sun is like a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, ready to run his course. It doesn't say the earth is spinning. It says the earth is fixed and stationary, essentially, resting on pillars. But I don't think you have to believe it. Obviously, there's I can show you quotes from like Saint Clement of Rome, Saint John Chrysostom. There's a whole heap of early church fathers who have quotes specifically on the biblical earth, I would call it. I think the bias has been tipped towards the globe side. Like in Isaiah now, some Bibles have Isaiah 40:22, I think it is, where it says, "He who sits above the circle of the earth." A lot of some Bibles are translating it to globe. It says circle, like a disc or a plate is a circle, right? And a couple chapters earlier, Isaiah used the word for ball, and it's a completely different word, ball or globe, and that circle that he used is 2 different words. So I think if anything, the bias has been tipped toward the globe side, but I want to at least give an account that it is consistent with the Bible and with the scriptures. That's what I would be aiming for. I'm not going to consider it, convince people from that,
Right, because I think because I'm looking at Job is putting quotes, biblical quotes. 1 Chronicles 16:30. The world also is firmly established; it shall not be moved. Psalms 93:1. The world is established; so it shall not be moved. I think, to me, you could say that those are supporting flat Earth, but I think they work in either model, because it could be saying that the regularity of nature or something like that, like the laws that God is establishing within the earth shall not be moved, or something like that.
It could be, not a literal. It could be a metaphoric for something else. Maybe the people. I get that as well. Yeah, but when I look at it and it says it a couple times, 5 times or whatever, it's easier to interpret and say, hey, this is actually what it says. But that's not the. I wouldn't prove this by that. I'm just trying to show it's consistent.
Okay. Well, do you have anything else you wanted to bring up? I have a handful of other questions, and people have some other in the chat. Feel free if you have any questions or anything you guys want to point out, I'll get to them. But is there any? I know you might wanted to have presented some more stuff. You said you had things to present.
Yeah, I've got a few things. Let me try to pull up. I've got a couple of videos because when I first heard about this, I thought, one of the things I thought, oh, we've got photos from space. We've got NASA. They show us.
Right. Oh,
They've
dubious.
shown us the globe. Yeah, they've shown us the globe, right? And then you start looking into like NASA fails. I think a lot of people have seen it by now, regardless of if you're a flat earther or not. But they've been caught lying a lot of times. They've been caught lying and faking things so many times, and I can pull that up, and that made me kind of look back and think, well, why are they faking it? If it's true, and that's not proof at all that it's
Right.
that it is, of course. But that just made me more open to questioning it because I thought, we've got photos, we know it's a ball, all right? I can see it on my phone right now, and then you see quotes from NASA employees saying it's Photoshop, but it has to be. You see clouds that have obscene words written in them in what Obama posted. I can pull them up actually. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, of course. While you do that, I will. Nadim, I see your question. I'll get to it. Jube is posting tons of proof text. I think we know which side he's on, or at least maybe he's aware and try to steel man or something. I don't know, but I'll keep reading some of these. Psalm 104:5. You who laid the foundation of the earth, so that it shall not be moved forever. Isaiah 45:18. Who made the earth and fashioned it, and himself fixed it fast. And then people are saying maybe Father Seraphim Rose talked about it. Somebody asked, is there any modern saints that have been canonized in the church that explicitly talk about this biblical cosmology you're referring to? Or is it just ancient saints in antiquity?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't see him as anything but Martin Luther and John Calvin. They said it as well. That's, I guess, just side note, because we don't believe in them at all.
Right.
But I'm not sure of any. I haven't heard of any Orthodox saints recently saying it. No, there could be. I'm just not. I'm not aware. Give me 1 sec. I'm just trying to pull up these videos.
Yeah, no problem. Saint Gregory Palamas, so that'd be medieval, 1400s, I think. In the 150 chapters, chapter 3, Earth is stationary with water making its lower regions and heavens are moving. St. John Damascus acknowledges the shape of the earth is debatable. Basil's Hexameron gives a lot of details. He believed in literal waters above. Hexameron, however you pronounce that, 3:9, let us understand the waters literally and not metaphorically.
Sorry, 1 sec.
Oh yeah, Jube. I don't think the shape of the earth is dogmatic. I don't know if there's anything even referencing it in any of the canons or anything like that. I haven't looked, but I've never seen anybody present it one way or the other in any official canons of the councils or anything. All right, I pulled it up. It is, yes, it's up. Everybody can see it. It looks muted. I don't know if you need the audio.
No, I don't need the audio. That's
okay.
So here we see this guy holding a card on the ISS, and gravity just kicked in.
And where is this at? Is this a International Space Station?
Yeah. So,
why would that have not floated?
I know. Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Well, I know that we can replicate this effect with planes, nosediving or going close to nosediving, and it has a sense of weightlessness. That's how they'll do their training, right?
Yeah. Yes, that's true. Yeah. But regardless, they've got contracts with digital artificial visual effects teams. They've got massive contracts with them, which is quite convenient. I don't understand why they would need that. I've got a couple more. But yeah, that's pretty questionable, right? Like that shouldn't have fallen like that.
Yeah, that is strange, especially if that's like official thing.
It is, yeah.
The rooster's making himself known. I think you guys can hear that. Nadim had another question. What do you think about the alignment? I think that's what you're trying to say. The alignment of the continents.
Are you talking about the one continent or Pangea, or are you saying like now today how are they aligned? Or just if you're saying that, it's you can look up the best projection of a flat Earth depiction, I guess, from a bird's eye view would be the Gleason's map. I can pull that up. I don't think it's 100% accurate because we obviously can't freely explore. No one has the financials. It's not an easy thing. We don't have the resources. When I say we, I'm talking about the broad group of people who've started to believe this. I guess you could say
Right.
the general consensus on the matter. But I'll show this. Now.
And Nadim says he's asking about both, and he says the fact that John Damascus says that it's up for debate and it's not dogmatic, says he's completely fine to think any cosmology as an Orthodox Christian. Which, yeah, like we said earlier, I don't think this is anywhere near like a salvific issue, obviously. And to me, I think we should be pursuing truth. And even if I do believe in the globe, and I'm kind of just a filthy fence sitter here, but to me, I just want to actually look at the arguments. Okay, you mean to pull that up?
Yes, yeah, please. Okay. So this is a UN logo. This is a somewhat accurate depiction of the globe, of our actual world, of the flat Earth. This is Gleason's map, new standard map of the world. That's probably the best I could give map wise, I would say.
Okay. Nadim, do you really believe in Pangea? That just seemed like a really hooky thing, even when I was a kid, like in 5th grade, being taught like, oh, if you just take these and you cut them out like like an art project and you put them together, they kind of fit like that. Even back then, as like a 10-year-old, I was like, this is dumb, you guys.
If you wouldn't mind pulling this video up as well.
There it is.
Now this is hard to see because I've got it downloaded in bad quality, but can you see just there?
Okay, I'm trying to figure out whether there's a bag.
See that moving around?
The bag is moving, yeah.
This here.
That thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you explain what I'm looking at? Because is this?
It'll show it. Sorry. It'll.
Okay. Yeah.
This is on the SpaceX launch. SpaceX. NASA
I
launch.
see.
That's a video of their rocket.
I see. So this. Okay. Now my brain was like couldn't even tell what it was like. So that's supposed to be the Earth on the left. Yep. That is the thruster. You can see the thrust going. What is the balloon supposed to be?
Well, the tinfoil is supposedly part of the rocket, right? But down right down here, you see this thing here. Just keep your eye on that.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah.
Was that a looks like a penguin fin. What is that?
Not sure what exactly it is. It could be a mouse. It could be, I don't know. It looks like something is there moving around freely on the outside of that rocket, which is in a vacuum in space, which
that is odd.
Make sense to me. If you shot a rocket in the air, I don't think there'd be just floating particles sitting on your rocket. It would be completely destroyed when you get up through space or whatever. Going at the speeds they claim to go at, there's nothing just sticking freely, to the rocket. I've got some more. I find this pretty good because it really shows people that we don't have trustworthy sources for this, right? Like these people are faking it. You can't appeal to NASA when they've been caught doing things like this. 1 second.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're very not trustworthy. But like again, that's evidence, but not necessarily proof.
No, this isn't proof of my position. This is just like I like to start with this because it kind of shows people what we're dealing with. This is footage from the ISS again.
The dude looks like he's on wires to me.
Yeah, see that wire?
That is a wire, isn't it?
Literally,
you can see it like it's on his belt. It looks like.
Yeah, he's got a harness on. He's literally wearing a harness right there, which is not very good for them. Let me try to pull up a couple more.
Yeah, Nadim, who believes in the globe, is like, yeah, don't trust NASA.
yeah, okay, that's good. Interesting as well. The word NASA in Hebrew is it's used in the Bible, NASA, right? It's the specific word that Eve uses to describe what the serpent did to her. The serpent deceived me, beguiled me. That word is actually NASA, NASA in Hebrew, which is quite interesting. There's also a lot of like satanic symbolism, 666 symbolism within NASA.
Yeah, and CERN and all these different, it's a lot of it's hidden in plain sight. Like, I remember somebody told me to just look up. This is very tangentially related, but somebody told me look up on Google Maps Washington D.C. and just tell me what you see. And it took me about 5 minutes to be like, oh, I see at least 2 things here. That's really weird. Just from a bird's eye view.
That's right.
So yeah, I definitely think a lot of stuff hidden in plain sight.
Yeah. So we've got the axial tilt of the Earth is 66.6 degrees. They say it's 23.4, but that's just the smaller angle, obviously. That you can say it's 66.6 as well. The orbit of the Earth around the Sun, coincidentally, 66,600 miles an hour. Curvature math, 8 inches per square mile equals 1 mile, 0.666 curvature, 0.666 feet curvature. Yeah, the Arctic Circle, 66.6 degrees. The Antarctic Circle, 66.6 degrees. But I'm sure it's all a coincidence. Their name is, it reduces to 666 as well. All this kind of base symbolism. But yeah, that's just, I guess, showing, NASA's.
Have you heard about like the whatever that contract is or agreement or whatever where countries and people can't go to, what is it, the South Pole? It's totally inaccessible except for certain research stations. My friend was telling me, my Navy friend who's getting into all this stuff, was bringing that up and like, yeah, you'll just be like shot on sight or whatever if you go there. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Why? What's there?
So,
why can't we go?
I know. Yeah. So something called the Antarctic Treaty. It was signed in 1959, if I'm around there, 58 or 59. Basically, all major countries in the world came together and signed a peace deal, an agreement that they're going to universally control Antarctica. Land has been fought over throughout history. Every single piece of land people can get their hands on, they will slaughter and kill people for land, right? But this land, we find all this new, geographic land that we haven't really got. Such a pole.
I mean, from my understanding of it, what would you be able to do with that land? Why would you fight over it? What is there is there natural resources? Can you dig? Are there minerals? I have no idea.
Well, we don't really, I don't know. I haven't been there, but the Nazis were very interested in it.
I know that, yeah.
Straight after World War II, were very interested in it. They've been very interested, right? They haven't publicly fought over it, right? But then they all signed this agreement. It's the longest lasting peace treaty in modern history. It's still going. It's 57 major countries, all of them pretty much. They all agreed that there is no independent travel to Antarctica. It is surveilled by different countries' military. The waters are surveilled. You can't go beyond the 60th degree latitude, below the 60th degree latitude. So it's illegal to go there. The only time you can go to Antarctica, but you can go to like 2 pre-approved guides, like pre-approved cruises. You go to the one point and see some penguins, and then they take you back. It costs like $50,000 to do that. You can't independently explore it. You can't, essentially that. So it's off limits for us, and that's kind of weird as well. People, what they say? They actually say it's because it's so dangerous. I can go climb Mount Everest where there's a 1 in 7 chance I'm going to die, but you won't let me go freely explore Antarctica. That's
right. Wouldn't you want people to do that? So hey, take this equipment that'll transmit us data or whatever it is. People are willing to go and risk their lives. Wouldn't you want to have that contribute to research or exploration or whatever? Nadim says, honest question, do you think that all laws of physics we use are fake?
Absolutely not. I think that the laws of physics that we have refute the globe model. With the second law of thermodynamics necessitates that gas pressure have a container, and I don't think that's done with the globe. There's no demonstration of that. The Earth is supposedly wobbling in 4 different wobbles. They take various amounts of time, right? But you can't replicate an object wobbling 4 different ways. It'll never be done. They show a spinner top, the spinner tops you spun as a kid. They can spin a couple ways. You at best, you're going to get 2, right? You can't get a ball wobbling and spinning 4 different ways. They've never replicated it. The reason they had to do that is because it got so bad. Like the orbits of everything were just not what we would expect if we're moving, on the tilt and like that they had to add these 4 wobbles to compensate. So they've made they've made it defy all physics specifically. So I do believe in the laws of physics, of course. I don't think that the natural laws we observe are wrong. I think they refute the globe, if anything.
Prodigy says, everybody knows that the higher we go, the further we can see. If the Earth was flat, this would not be the case, as you would be able to see all the way to the end of the planet from any place. So
the thing is, we have an atmos, right? We have atmosphere, and there's water and other things in it. So you can't see forever. I'm not sure why people think that if the Earth was flat, you'd be able to see forever. If you go underwater, you're looking through water. It's a much denser, much thicker medium. the air is still a medium, right? So there's things like
Right.
atmospheric.
I mean, there's mountains behind me here, or in front of me, I guess, behind the camera, and they're all turning more bluish gray as they get further because of the way the atmosphere affects my vision of it. Right.
Yeah, and there's something called light attenuation. So light attenuates it, dissipates into the medium that it's in. If you shine light through water, again, it's not gonna you're not gonna be able to see it from 50 meters on the other side of the pool even. So to think that you could see forever on a flat Earth it's not the case. We actually do have a limit to how far we can see. So that would be what I would say for that.
So I have it here. Somebody asked about like if it was a globe and there was space and there was all of these satellites that we have, the space junk, wouldn't they be crashing into each other? Or why wouldn't they eventually fall? They're just stuck in the orbit, something like that.
Yeah, that too. Why don't we ever see all these crashed satellites? Why every single photo we get from NASA, there's never been a single one of a satellite in space. We've got CGI, but we don't have an actual photo of a satellite. When they take these photos from the moon, why isn't there, thousands of different satellites in the way? But yeah, the NASA are the biggest purchasers of helium. There's something called satelloons. So I don't doubt they have stuff in the sky. I don't doubt that maybe they even could put satellites up there, using electromagnetic levitation or however, because we don't understand fully the technology that these people have access to, right? You kind of know broadly they don't share these things with the public. Like Nikola Tesla, I'm not sure if you're aware, but Tesla invented all these great things, and then the government, the US, went and took all his work. They took his work, redacted everything, and then gave it back to his family, gave his notebooks back to his family, fully redacted 50 years later. So they have access to greater technology, but there's something called satelloons. NASA have been forced to admit. They only admitted it like a couple of years ago because
that's you right before you said that, Jube said the same thing. They're satelloons.
Yeah, they're the biggest purchasers of helium in the world, and they have patents for balloons that can stay up in the air for up to 2 months at a time. So that's satellites pretty much.
Nadim says, if you don't believe in gravity, do you believe in other forces?
So gravity, like this, obviously I believe in, right? When we're talking gravity, we've got to define it. What are we talking about? Are we talking about a downward acceleration on the Earth? Absolutely, I agree, right? But the cause of it, I disagree with. So the supposed cause is space-time bending, a fourth dimensional concept of space and time, where it's a fourth dimensional fabric physically bending and creating a gravity well in the third dimension, where we're free falling down a curved path. That I reject. I don't believe that's ever been substantiated. I don't think you could ever show me the manipulation of space-time to prove the causation between gravity and the downward acceleration and the bending and warping of space-time. So I don't agree with that. I do think other forces are responsible for that, namely density and buoyancy. Density and buoyancy. Yeah, exactly. We all agree on the effect. Density and buoyancy play a bigger role. They say Isaac Newton, when the apple fell, he figured out that things go down, and that's because of gravity. What if the apple fell in a puddle of water and it didn't hit the floor? Why would it stay above the water? Why didn't gravity pull it to the bottom? He would have understood that there were other forces at work. If he saw a hot air balloon in the air, right, what was he going to say? The gravity? No, there's other forces. Density and buoyancy. That is that's what gives us that sorts everything out. And we've got an electrostatic bias, downward electrostatic bias on the Earth, which sets the up and down vector. You can actually manipulate that with something called a Van de Graaff generator. It basically flips the polarity of the electrostatics, and you can make objects float, small, obviously, because we're not emitting so much power with a little generator. But you can make hair, you can make iron filings, you can make rubber, even non-insulators. Everything is intrinsically electrostatic. There's not a single thing in nature that isn't. Electrostatic is different to electromagnetic. So obviously not everything is electromagnetic, but everything is electrostatic. You can make all sorts of materials float and manipulate it. That's actual science. If my theory is that electrostatics are causing the upward and the downward bias on the Earth, and then I manipulate that and I can make things float, I can make things go up, I can make them fall at a faster or slower pace. I've actually done science. I've followed the scientific method to prove the causality and of the phenomenon, whereas just saying space-time is bending, that you haven't proven anything. That's a theory. I don't think a lot of people even understand space-time. That's a concept. Have you ever seen space-time? That's That's just like a magical thing invoked. How could you
It's
ever prove that?
theoretical, right?
It's
It's theoretical.
It's substantiated.
Someone, Natasha, no, sorry, Blue Skittle is saying satellites are just used with helium, just like the China one America shot down, like, what was that, a year and a half ago or whatever?
Yeah.
So like, I feel like there's way more moving objects, satellites, whatever they are, in this night sky than when I was a kid. Like when I look up here and I'm able to see a lot of stars out here. You look up and you can see 3 or 4 just moving in different directions now. And I don't remember that as a kid. Do you think, like what Blue Skittles here, do you think they're just helium balloons? I mean, what do you think they're actual objects? What's your take on those?
Yeah, I do think mostly helium balloons. Even if they did have, some satellites, I'm not opposed to that. I think that could work on a flat Earth. I don't think that's it necessitates space or a vacuum. I don't think that's the case. But I do think that, well, from all evidence I've seen, they're just balloons in the sky. And when you think about the ISS as well, they claim that that's 200 and something thousand miles away or whatever it is. I can pull it up if you want, but the size of it is relatively similar to a plane, a passenger airline, right? You can apparently see the ISS from that far away. If you put a plane up there, you wouldn't be able to see it, right? You can hardly see a plane from distances on the Earth, which are much less than that. Also, the ISS doesn't have lights on it, supposedly. Like there's no lights just emitting from it. Why can we see it lit up? Like why is there a light beaming down to us at all times? Pretty much. They say what they claim is that it's just reflecting off the ISS. That's doesn't make sense to me because if it's reflecting, it's going to have glimmer. It's going to have a glimmer. It's going to have glimpses where you can see it and you can't because the surface isn't reflecting it at all points on the Earth all the time. Does that make sense?
I think that makes sense.
If I've got a little, let's say it's a car for argument's sake, and I shine a light on it, it's not going to be reflecting light directly into your eyes the whole time. It's going to be glimmering. Things in the distance, if they're moving and they're reflecting, it's going to glimmer, right? If you move a mirror like that, it's going to glimmer. You're not going to see the light in the mirror the whole time. So it doesn't make sense how that can be, constantly a light in the sky. It shouldn't be able to do that if it's just reflecting light. And you shouldn't even be able to resolve that angular size at that distance. It doesn't work.
Nadim saying, what would the surface of the Earth be, distances, etc.? Do you have any numbers or studies or something?
Not overly. It's hard to, it's all independently researched, this whole topic. There's no institutional backing. But I can cite, I guess, the expedition of Admiral Byrd to Antarctica when he circumnavigated or went around Antarctica, supposedly. He's one of, not Admiral Byrd, Captain Cook, right? One of the best navigators in the world.
Right.
It took him, so supposedly the perimeter of the perimeter of Antarctica is like 30,000 miles. It took him 3 years to go around it, and it took him 70,000 miles. So over double what they said. And it took one of the best explorers in modern history, 3 years to do it. So I think that's a pretty decent case that it's not what they say it is. It's a lot bigger. I've got so there's a speedboat race or a sailboat race in the south. When they do this in the north, the world record speed that the winner of that race, the speed is around 30 knots. The boats can go about 40 knots an hour, right? In the south, the world record for the sailboat, how they circled around Antarctica, supposedly, the world record was averaging 4 knots an hour. 4 knots is like the wind moves faster than that. So it's like me telling you I want to race around, my area, and you ask me, oh, how fast did you drive? The car goes like, 120 or whatever. And I tell you, I was doing an average of like 30 miles an hour. You're not going to believe, like, something's up. That's weird. You know why as well? Because speed is distance over time. So they'd be doing it theoretically in the same, well, it wouldn't be the same time, but they're doing a much greater distance. So it's taking them longer, right? And that's why their speed is dropping. It's down to 4 knots an hour in the south. And then in the north, it's like 20, 30 miles an hour. That's another thing I could give, but I haven't independently explored the parameters of the Earth. I haven't, and it's kind of hard to do that without institutional support.
So I'm here in America, and you're over there in Australia. So it's Sunday morning for you, and it's Saturday afternoon for me. Yep. And from the globe model that's in my brain, it's because the curve, the rotation of the Earth relative to the sun, it's hitting us at different places, and that's why we have our different time zones. Is there an explanation for time zones, or the sun, the moon, and all that? How our day cycles work?
Yeah, well, there's a couple models and apps you can look at that replicate it and show it. But basically, they just circle over top our flat Earth within the firmament. They circle over top of us. And it's like people say, well, why isn't it always sunny? Why isn't it sunny everywhere? It's like light a match over a table. Is the whole table lit up? No, it's just that spot under it. It creates a hot spot. Light it doesn't travel forever like that. It's a local sun. The belief is that it's a smaller and local sun. It's not thousands of miles wide and trillions or 93 million miles away. That's not the belief. So the day and night cycles work, I guess, the same. You'd move it around on the flat Earth, and you can replicate it. I can show kind of models and whatnot of how it gets the specific times. Like there's a good app. I don't know if it's called Flat Earth Clock and something. It's by this guy, Flat Earth Dave. He's some YouTuber, but he made this app, and you can fast forward it. You can see it, conceptualize it basically, and that shows how that can be done. But time zones are the same. It would be the same on the flat Earth.
Prodigy is saying, how big is the sun in your belief?
It's hard to say because I can't, there's no measuring tape long enough. I can't measure that, but it's definitely not what they say it is. That's all I would say. It's more local and it's smaller. I don't have an exact number, but also with me being on the other side of the world, I guess, I don't believe that I'm upside down to you right now. We would actually be standing in opposite directions if we were on a ball. It doesn't make sense to me. A down is down, up is up. You're not going to be, facing the opposite direction.
Don't people say that like the way your toilet bowl flushes is different in the different hemispheres? Yeah,
that's actually a myth. So it's solely due to the pretty much the way that the water goes down. Like you can show there's videos of in lakes where there's vortexes, two going separate ways, right? It's a pretty common myth. Universally dismissed, I guess you could say. It's not a thing. It's not a true thing.
There's tons of things like that in scientism, whatever you want to say, where they're like, we know it's an ancient Earth because of the Grand Canyon, and then we have like examples of similar things happening very quickly. Or what is it? The stalactites are on the top. Like, oh, that takes millions and millions of years to form. It's like we observed some forming in 5 years or something. It's like,
I know. Yeah. And then
how do you know that claim is true? How do you know that it is? Oh, look, it's crazy. It's got to take a long time.
Yeah. It's like with the rock columns, how they say you can see the different layers, and each is like a million years, and then you see a tree grow through it. You see like there's photos of a tree, literally a tree, dead trees, obviously, but there's fossilized trees just growing straight through it. Trees just like, an eternal tree, I guess. It's kind of ridiculous. Trees would be the first things to dissolve, opposed to rock. Wood would absolutely be destroyed quicker. It's not going to grow through, and no one even makes that argument. They just call it an anomaly and pretend it didn't happen.
I don't know if you watch Made by Jim Bob. He's kind of similar to me, where he's a filthy bench sitter, I think, where he's super skeptical, and he doesn't know if we can know. He also says that we don't have access to it. Kind of like what you're saying. I don't have a tape measure big enough, so I can't give you concrete data or anything. But one thing he says is that calling it flat Earth doesn't really make sense, because flat isn't a shape. It's like a quality. Like you could say sphere or globe, and that's a shape. Yeah. But like my table has a flat side. It has flatness on some of its parts. It is not itself flat. So that's not a shape.
Yeah. So a ball doesn't have flat. So it's basically a direct objection to that. It's a topographical description. It's a level plane as far as we can tell. That's that's I don't know what's under, how it's structured. I believe it's resting on pillars, like it says in the Bible, and there's waters above and below divided by a firmament. That's the model. And as far as we can measure and tell, the Earth is a plane. It's not curving. There's no convexity or concavity to the Earth. Pretty much. That's what the belief is. So
you're telling me I can't dig to China?
No, unfortunately not. I thought I could. When I
tried as a kid. My parents shouldn't let me do this, but I had a hole in my backyard, like probably 3 sizes deeper than I was. You know, I had to climb out of it. I had to be pulled out.
Wow, really?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Parents are at work.
All right.
Yeah. I wanted to get to China.
Hmm.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
Just you've been told that you can. You're like, well, I can. I should then.
Yeah. Let me pull up a good observation. Let me get this up.
That's probably exaggeration. It was quite deep though. It was definitely above my head. Or like when I was the earth, the hole was above me.
Yeah.
Just so people don't at me saying you lied. Yeah, I didn't find Tartaria under there. I also really wanted to find an engine arrowhead. I never found one of those though.
Engine arrowhead. Wow.
Yeah. I hear other people say they found some Indian arrowheads, and I never did.
It's terrible. All right.
Yeah.
I will just share screen quickly.
Yep.
What do we got here? All right. So this is not to premise. This is not a flat Earth source. This is an observation. This is like a mountain. It's called Mount Canigou. It's in France. It's a mountain. This is not a flat Earth source at all. It's just someone filming it. An accountant films this. So that what you're seeing there. Speed it up a little bit.
Okay, it's the horizon with the sun going down.
Yep.
Is this copyrighted music? Am I going to get trouble?
I hope not. Oh, no.
Yeah, no, here, I can mute it from here. Okay. Ad time, you guys. I shouldn't have said a thing.
No, okay, I'm back up. Good. All right. So this sun is setting. You can see it, right?
I can see it, yeah. Looks like it's going behind mountains.
Yes. So those mountains are, hang on a second, 157 miles away, right?
Okay. From the camera.
From the camera. Okay. Give me a sec. I'll pull up the calculator. So keep that in mind. The observer height is 1,000 feet, and the distance to it is 157 miles.
If Elon Musk offered to send me to space, would I tell him yes? Obviously.
Don't do it. He's not sending you to space.
Even if he did, I don't want to leave my family forever.
Yeah.
To go on a weird space odyssey.
No good. All right, here we go. Share screen. Okay, let's do this. So, 1,000 feet height, 157 miles away. Hidden distance at that target. So the Earth would have dropped 9,326 feet at that distance, right?
Okay.
We go over to Mount Canigou height. The peak of the mountain is 200 feet shorter, 200 feet less than that height. So theoretically, the mountain should be 200 feet below the curve of the Earth. This is obviously not. We see a very good.
You
chunk
can
of
see
that
it,
mountain, right? And the thing is that this happens. Let's see if we can do this. Where are we? Here. The high contrast can be obtained when the sun is aligned with the mountain. In this case, the phenomenon can be seen in 2 periods per year, around the 10th of February and the 3rd of October. So, what we've got here is an observation that we shouldn't be able to see. Right? This should be physically behind the curve of the Earth. Now, the response to this is that it's refraction. It's being refracted.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
So yeah. This phenomenon happens constantly. Go to your local beach or your nearest shore, and I guarantee you'll see further than you physically should. But the reason that they just scream refraction, right? So you're never going to win that argument, you know. But when you present this exact observation, I don't believe you can invoke refraction for a few reasons. One being that it happens, as it said, 2 days per year, right? 2 specific times per year. So unless the atmosphere is just for some reason conspiring to make it optically look like that mountain is there 2 times per year, you can't really invoke refraction, as that's subject to atmospheric conditions, and it wouldn't be a consistent 2 days 2 times per year. Does that make sense?
I think so. Let me get that straight, because I think I may have misunderstood. So it's saying that I thought it was saying the sun lining up to go behind the mountains only happens twice a year. It's saying that you can only see the mountains there twice a year, or the sun lining up.
So normally you can't see that mountain, right? You can't, actually see it if the sun's not there. The only time you can see it is when the sun silhouettes it, because it gives a good enough contrast where you can see it. But basically, normally you can't see that mountain. Mathematically, you shouldn't be able to on a ball. But when the sun goes optically behind it, then you can see it, right? That should not happen. You know, the atmosphere, unless it's conspiring, you know, it shouldn't be.
You are winning Nadim over. Just want you to know. He said he doesn't. Nadim was very. Oh my gosh, we got a conspiracy guy here, and I think you're winning him over.
Good to hear. But there's another reason. So that I don't believe you can invoke refraction for, because it wouldn't be consistently 2 times a year. People go from all over the world to see this observation. It's like a tourist attraction. There's like guides that you can do. There's literally tours you can book online to see this at places you can stay. And so that is one of the reasons you can't invoke refraction. The second is refraction is the bending of light through a medium, right? We all kind of understand broadly what refraction is. It's a silhouette, it's a shadow. A shadow is a privation of light. So it would have to be that the mountain obviously can't be refracted. It would have to be that the sun's light is being perfectly refracted around and up, all, you know, universally, to make the exact shape of that mountain, which will never be replicated. They'll never demonstrate any kind of refraction that could possibly do that. And making it look like and appear as if there's a perfect silhouette right there. Because the sun is optically behind it, they would have to say that the sun's already set as well. That's also a refraction, refraction. They would have to say essentially everything is being refracted magically 2 times a year. Wouldn't
it look differently if it's going down over the horizon and then being refracted back up? Wouldn't it not look like the continuity of it just going down? Am I just not?
Exactly. It would have a delay or something, because how could you, if the sun's going at a speed and you can kind of see it, and it's supposedly already set when it's here, that means it's somehow gone past it and you've missed it. Like, where did it already set and you missed it? How did that happen? So refraction isn't a sufficient answer for that. That's I do think that's a direct refutation of the globe, of that, at least of convex of curve in the Earth.
Right. My Navy friend brought this up, and he was saying that he was trying to explain to me over breakfast that the calculations we have to show the curvature of the Earth and how the exact curvature of the Earth, they don't line up. I'm like, well, and he was like saying that disproves the globe. I'm like, I mean, maybe, but to me that just sounds like, at least if nothing else, we can say that disproves the Earth is the size that they claim it is. I mean, it could be a globe that's bigger or smaller, just not what they're saying. Blue Skittle is saying, did Pythagoras account for light refraction?
Pythagoras account for light refraction? I'm not too sure. I don't really see how that pertains to the conversation. But back on what were you just saying? Sorry.
Yep.
What were you just saying?
Oh, I was saying that the calculations being incorrect doesn't necessarily disprove globe. It just disproves the purported size of the globe, or that calculation will be true.
The issue with that, though, is that all their whole model requires this specific radius value. Their day and night cycles, their orbits of the moon, their gravity, their whole model necessitates that the Earth be the exact size it is. If it was bigger, the model doesn't work. It would completely throw a wrench in it. So yeah, it does disprove that the Earth is this size, and by doing that, it kind of does debunk the whole model, because it requires this exact number. It's not an arbitrary number. They've built the whole model on this number. They've built the whole model around it. The distances to objects, unless they're going to revamp everything, they'd have to change everything. The day and night cycle wouldn't work. The orbits of the moon and the planets and the sun, the whole thing would not work if it was a bigger Earth. So yeah, I agree with you. It doesn't debunk completely that it's a ball, But then we're going to have to, like, if we really want it to be a ball, we're going to have to redo the whole thing, the whole system, the whole model, and just completely change everything. So the model's been refuted either way. Could it be a bigger ball? And I guess, I'm not convinced. I've never seen any evidence or any reason to say that it is. But it basically does refute the model. I do think it refutes the model specifically.
I think Blue Skittle is trying to clarify. It says Globers usually reference Pythagoras, but there's no way he could have used light refraction back then.
Pythagoras or Eratosthenes. I'm not sure if are you talking about the guy who measured the supposed radius of the Earth, or that the Earth is a ball. I'm not sure. I'm not too well understood on Pythagoras.
Blue Skittle, if you want to clarify. I do have a Ras keeps saying I should ask you this question. What about hurricanes? I think this was talking about the myth of toilet bowl flushing. On the north, it spins the other way. The south, it spins the opposite.
Same thing. I'm not seeing convincing evidence that it is, but even if it was, that wouldn't be a problem, because if the sky is moving, then it would have a transfer of energy down to the Earth. This is modeled in a guy called Tycho Brahe. It's called the Tychonian model. He basically modeled the world as if it was geocentric. Basically, he did a model of the universe and the solar system as a geocentric universe. Right? He still said it was a ball, so I wouldn't invoke completely, but I do agree that it works the same as if it was as if we were geocentric and stationary and everything moved around us. Even if it was, then that could be explained. That could be the explanation, but I haven't seen convincing evidence that that's actually the case. I think that's a bit of a myth.
Blue Skittle says, I think Pythagoras did the sticks and shadows thing, but it could have been somebody else.
I thought you were talking about that. So Eratosthenes, right? I'll actually pull up a photo on this. Let me just find it. So he supposedly put sticks in the ground and measured the shadows. Okay, here we go.
Fraud.
You got it?
Yeah. So somebody was making a joke. Fraudosthenes. Fraud. I don't even have to pronounce it. Fraudosthenes. Saying it's a fraud.
Yeah. So basically, he said that because we can see one stick with no shadow and another one with a shadow, he did the math and calculated that the Earth is a ball, right? That is exactly the same thing replicated on someone's floorboards with a local light source. So it basically, if it was a local light source, you could get the exact same effect on a flat Earth, on a flat plane. On a table, you can do it. So that doesn't prove anything. There's no actual primary documentation that guy existed. There's two secondary sources, and they both contradict. One says he used sticks. One says he was using wells. So I'm not even convinced the guy was real. But if he was, it doesn't matter. His experiment or his test doesn't actually prove anything.
Jube says, Nikolas, could you say that the R value is kind of like their transcendental category main presupposition? So if you debunk the R value, you debunk the system.
I would say that, yeah, because their whole model requires this to be correct. It's basically the foundation upon which their model was built. The curvature calculations, the day and night cycle use it, the orbits and the rotation. It doesn't work if the radius value has been falsified. So falsifying the radius value, I do think, is sufficient to debunk their model.
Going to my just premeditated questions, what would it take for you to be 100% convinced of the globe? And would that, because you said earlier that the flat Earth model has strengthened your faith, if it was disproven and the globe was proven to you, which whatever criteria that would have to be for you, would that weaken your faith in any way?
It's an interesting question. To prove it, there'd be a lot, to be honest with you. It wouldn't be one thing. Maybe if you took me up there and you proved that there's no visual stuff happening, visual effects, and showed me the curve of the Earth, I would. But I would still have serious questions about the model. Even like the core of the Earth, that's so patently wrong. They have no idea what's down in the core. But I'll get into that in a bit if you want. But as for if it was a globe, how would my faith go? I'm not sure. I don't. It wouldn't be. Obviously, I would always be a Christian, right? There's no. It
Right.
doesn't change that. But it would be kind of weird to me, I guess. It would be like a step back, and I would be like, wow, I must have misunderstood a lot of things. And then, I guess that you could say. But I'd need to see some pretty convincing evidence that it's a ball, and to have some answers to some pretty direct refutations and contradictions. Like, if you want to talk about the core of the Earth, like people to have the magnetic field we have on the Earth, they have a very specific model, right? That there's iron in the core and it's spinning a certain way, causing the magnetic field of the Earth. One, on its face, this has never been replicated. This has never been possible. It's been shown to be possible that can cause a magnetic field. Never. The only times they've ever tested it, they had to use external power sources to generate a magnetic field. It hasn't ever been demonstrated. So it's not even theoretically possible. However, when they dug the deepest hole that has ever been dug, it was like, 8 miles or something? All their predictions were so patently wrong. They were so incorrect about their entire predictions. And their predictions were important because there's a very specific range of temperature that core has to have before it loses its magnetic properties, right? It can't get too hot too quickly, or the core won't have magnetic, because even it doesn't work in theory. But if we're going to even pretend like it's going to work, it has to be within a certain temperature range. The prediction was that the temperature would increase 11 degrees per kilometer. Yeah, the Kola super deep borehole. That's right. Yeah, 12 kilometers. Yeah. The prediction was that the temperature was going to increase by, I think it was 11 degrees a kilometer or a mile. A mile, I think it was, because it was American. And the actual increase of temperature was 24 degrees. So over double. And, if you keep going down like that, it's going to be way too hot, way too quickly. That doesn't work. Even in theory, it doesn't work. But if we're going to pretend like it could, it still doesn't work because it would get too hot. You can't have a magnetic field on the Earth from spinning iron in the center of the core. It doesn't work. Completely wrong. They found a chemical anomaly, they called it, where they found like gold or something of a composition that should not have been down there. The supposed composition of the Earth would not allow that to be in that spot. They found it like 5 miles deep. They shouldn't have been there.
I remember hearing once that, I believe it was gold. All of the gold deposits in the Earth were due to like meteors hitting the Earth, and that's how we got gold. I remember hearing that a couple years ago. I don't know if that's like official narrative or what. I just remember somebody who was seemed knowledgeable was saying it.
Yeah. No, so pretty much the one time they've dug a hole that deep, they found a chemical anomaly. You would think that maybe you wouldn't hit the anomaly on the first try. I would say that you were actually wrong about your prediction, but something directly contradicts. It's not possible to have something of that composition where they found it, but they just call it an anomaly and pretend it's not a serious problem for their model.
Prodigy saying that he apprentices at NASA since he was 15. He uses their telescope. He has a $7,000 telescope. He looks at the stars and other planets. Here's another. I can literally see all the planets, including the rings on some planets. I've drawn these in great detail as well as the stars.
Yeah, we can see lights in the sky. They're not like physical things. It's a light in the sky. They have their distinct shapes and they have their moves and their paths. But there's no, what you see from NASA, like the storms on it and the physics, you can see like this. It's CGI basically. You can't prove the content, the actual composition of these things in the sky. You can't do it. The telescopes, from what I've seen, show essentially lights in the sky. Sure, they're shaped like that. They are shaped and they have their distinct lines on them. Of course, I don't disagree with that. But to substantiate the fact that the notion that they're actual physical rocks in space being, orbiting around us, that's going to take a lot more than me seeing a light in the sky and some CGI from NASA. So from your telescope, if I was to look at it, I would have no problem with what you see.
Angela G says, misspelled my name, but that's okay. That's fine. Can you please ask Nikolas about the Bolivian salt flats and how we can see a perfect reflection if on a sphere? How can we see a perfect reflection if we are on a sphere? I have no idea what this means.
I don't worry, I know. Let me pull that up. Okay, so specular reflection is essentially a perfect reflection. It's a mirror image, right? And the Bolivian salt flats, give me 1 second, I'll pull it up. 1 second.
Let me know when. And after this, maybe Jube is saying, Nikolas, you should show him high altitude footage of the Earth horizon.
Will do. Okay. All right. I'm ready here. So this is called specular reflection, right?
Okay.
Seeing a perfect mirror image. This is the Bolivian salt flats. You can go there at any time pretty much and see a perfect reflection. This is what we observe. This is specular reflection right here. It necessitates a flat surface without blemish, right? You can't have little inconsistencies in it or you'll get a distorted image. It's like if you go to, one of the, I guess, like amusement parks or something and they have a curved mirror where it makes it look all funny. That's what you would see if this was a curved surface. So the fact that we see only ever a perfect reflection as far as we can see at the salt flats.
I see. You would see some kind of distortion as the Earth curves, correct?
It would not possibly be a perfect mirror image. Like if you flip that, you wouldn't know. That's the same thing.
Well, I mean, like, again, like me just trying to steal man. I'm a filthy fence sitter. Couldn't it be that it's really just such a big globe that the curve is much more gentle than they're saying, and that it's just not really seeing an effect because of how gentle that curve, because it's a much bigger globe or something like that?
Yeah, but when you're looking at, you can see, if you even get altitude, you can see pretty far, like maybe 30 miles, right? And it's still, there would be a visible distortion at that distance. Like that is a distance that you would definitely see. If you put it in the calculator, you should be able to see a distortion at that distance, at least some, right? I'll show some high altitude footage. Again, this isn't a flat earth source. This is it's like a sporting company, a sporting store in the UK who posted this video.
Everybody be nice to Prodigy, just so you know. Prodigy's cool. Okay, what is this video? It's this is what he was talking about earlier?
Yeah, it's high altitude balloon footage. Okay, so this is 110,000 feet. And all we see is flat. The whole way, right? We actually there's one point in it where it's going up. You see a hot spot from the sun. See that?
On the yeah.
See that there? Hang on a second. That shouldn't be possible on a ball because you wouldn't have a hot spot right there from a sun that is 93 million miles away. So this is good. I think this is good proof that the Earth is not curved, and also that we have a local sun. It's a lot closer than people think. It's not 93 million miles away.
What's your take on the solar burst that happened recently where you could see the Aurora Borealis in your backyard? I don't know if you guys saw that there. I was able to see it here. Yeah.
So there's a couple things. I'm not quite sure, that I saw a lot about. There was a serious HARP testing. They were spraying HARP, and on those exact days, I think it was CERN or whoever it was doing it.
They're spraying what?
HARP, like chemtrails and whatnot.
Oh, I see.
Called HARP. It's like a frequency that they emit when they spray this stuff, and it is proven, and they've replicated that can cause auroras. So it could be that. But even if it was some sort of magnetic anomaly, I have no problem with that. The sun is electromagnetic, and I do think that it could have done something like that. There's no issue with that. But is it a solar storm from a nuclear fusion in the sun? No, it's an electromagnetic thing, and even they admit that the sun is electromagnetic. So I don't see a problem with that. If we were to take that as true, even, because how are you going to prove that? It could be a couple other things.
Jube says metal loses magnetic properties when its Curie point is reached. The Curie point. So how can the Earth's molten metal core be generating a magnetic field? Yeah, it can't, essentially. It's never been proven. It's never been even demonstrated. It's not even theoretically possible, but they need it. So they're going to keep saying that that's our core. They're going to keep showing children cartoons of the Earth a ball cut, and show them this is the different layers here and there. When they were, on the 12 kilometers that they dug down, they were wrong about everything. But they're going to try and tell you the composition of the core, which is supposedly, the middle would be 1,900 miles deep, something ridiculous. So it's complete nonsense. It doesn't even work in theory. You
You can't even demonstrate this is possible at all. So that's a big problem for them. I can show some.
Oh, here's an interesting question I thought of yesterday. If there was no education telling us about the globe Earth, there was no education at all, people weren't being taught any particular cosmology, what do you think would be the natural cosmological outlook that someone would have just without any education?
I think it would be the ancient one that all ancient civilizations had. I don't know if I pulled that photo up earlier, but I can do it again.
Yeah, I believe you had that was at the beginning. There's a lot more people watching now. Maybe you can pull it up.
Give me one sec. Like this. Yeah, here. So this is ancient cosmology. This is what they all believed. And then there's NASA. So I would think that the default position, we don't feel like we're moving. We don't see a curve. We don't feel like we're moving. The default position is that we're in the center of everything. We see the stars and the sun and the moon moving around us. So I do think that that has been, and that would be the default position. If you were just sitting on the beach with your friend as a child, no one had ever told you about a globe Earth or anything, and you were watching the sunset and you're looking at a flat horizon and you're sitting still in your chair with a drink in your hand, and someone said to you, hey, I think we're on a ball spinning backwards and that sun's actually still and it's just an illusion and we're flying through a vacuum chasing that sun, you would look at them like they're the most ridiculous person that that's the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard. That is not a normal thought. This had to be drilled into our head from a very young age for us to actually, accept this as truth, because I don't think that, that's the default position. It just isn't. We don't see curvature. We treat the Earth as if it's flat and not moving. Plane patterns, NASA documents all about how they fly over a flat Earth. So I think that would be the default position.
David Atlas asks, what about how ships disappear over the horizon in the ocean?
So you can bring them back, right? So when you get a telescope or something and you increase the angular resolution, you can bring them back. I've got a good video actually to show this. Let me try to find it. But pretty much it isn't proof, because if I can zoom back in, if I can zoom that boat back in, it's not proof of physical curvature at all, because it's not behind a physical curve, and it proves that it's optical. But I'll just show downward or bottom up disappearance, because I agree that happens. A second.
Why do you think it's so heavily mocked if somebody is a flat earther? Is that just part of the push of like the CIA inventing the term conspiracy theory with JFK and all that, and it's just kind of lumped in together with that to just discredit people? Or I mean, is it what do you think the like the vitriol or whatever it is,
Yeah, I think it's like with all these buzzwords, to stop you from talking about it, there's very specific things that I don't know how we're on YouTube, right? But you say something and it's bang, anti-vaxxer. They got a word for it. They got a word for all of it, and that's what it is. It's just a buzzword that people can use to discredit you without even having to address the arguments that are made. It's just like a dismissal or a tap out. I don't want to talk about it. You're this, and conversation over.
Yeah, I mean, to me, if you're actually seeking truth, if you're an actual skeptic, you'd want your model, your ideas to be hit from every angle that you can, so you can have them tested with fire, right? I don't understand why people who call themselves skeptics, especially, would just go to ad hominems whenever somebody's actually being skeptical.
Give me 1 sec. I'm gonna just send. The video didn't load on my notes, so I'll send it to myself. No disappearance, but. It's true. Yeah, it's used to discredit the argument before, without actually having to address it. So they can just say you're a crazy, conspiracy theorist or whatever it is, science denier, flat earther. They use these buzzwords to discredit you.
So with it being a dome in a physical firmament, would you be able to go one direction long enough to where you'd hit the wall like in the Truman Show? What would the edges of the dome be? Like, would it be... Like, I think like it's a really low resolution idea, but like my mind goes to video games where you like get to the edge of the map and it's like there's map that way you can see stuff in the background, but you can't get to it. I mean, like, is it you just hit the wall?
Well, pretty much. If you travel past, you got to go lower than the 60th degree latitude, obviously, and you can't. So we can't go there. Full stop. Right, to see the edge. It would be beyond Antarctica, I guess, or within. Theoretically.
Is that why people say the ice wall or something like that?
Antarctica is the highest shoreline on Earth. It is what holds in all our water, and basically that's the known edge. I guess we know we can't go further than that right now, but yeah, we can't independently explore it. So that's that really. As for circumnavigation, what if you were to just travel, let's say east in one direction? Would you hit the wall? No, because it would update as you're going. So let's say this is north. My compass is always pointing to north. If I'm traveling east, right, it's gonna. You can circumnavigate on a plate, right? If there's a magnet in the center, and your compass is pointing to that magnet, you would be able to circumnavigate it. So you would have to travel south to hit the wall, or to hit the dome, and we can't go there, obviously.
Oma says the Freemasons have an interesting flat Earth model too. I don't know anything about that.
Well, Albert Pike, in one of his letters, talks about how he obviously laughs at the people who believe in a globe. He thinks that the Earth is flat, obviously, as well. So even the bad guys know pretty much. Their cosmology is pretty much the same. They know, but they've just deceived everyone. They just tell the others that it's not. They know what it is, though.
So do you think like all of the world governments are aware that the Earth is flat and they are just propagating the globe for whatever reason? Like that's still one part that I don't understand the narrative of I mean, like you mentioned, it's probably maybe the best argument to that. It's just to help push the atheistic scientism model that we're all just in a meaningless void. There is no telos to the universe. We're all animals. Evolution's true. All these things. Like, what is the? I guess the first part, are all the governments in on it? I guess, or are they ignorant?
The major ones are. All the major governments are, of course. All the ones that signed that treaty, they are. Is the Libyan government in on it? Probably not. I don't know. I mean, they don't really have that much involvement in it. But we saw global cooperation, across the board only in 2020. I think that's
right.
a good demonstration that it is possible for these people to collaborate and bridge gaps between any conflict that's going on. Magically, that gets forgotten about, and they all work together to push their own agenda. So I think that's very possible. And
wasn't like something like Iran just broke the Antarctica treaty, something like that, and went down there?
Apparently, they were going to put their own bases there or something, and the whole world was losing it because obviously that's prohibited. But I'm not sure what's going on with that, but it's quite interesting. I can pull up this video now. Let me just.
Okay. Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah. Let's try this.
Well, Manuel says, in fact, is this the same as in the globe? It would be like saying going east, you should pierce the atmosphere, but you just adjust to the center.
Correct. Yeah. Okay, I'm ready here, I think.
Okay.
Right, so this is a coin on a table.
Okay.
And he's going to move it back, and it's disappearing from the bottom up.
Right.
Now, immediately, people are going to say, well, the table is higher than the camera, right? The observer is lower than the camera. But
which, if you were on the surface of the flat plane as well, it wouldn't be the case, right?
No. You would never be below the thingo. So give me one sec. Keep playing this. Now, what he does is he doesn't move the camera any higher. He zooms in, increases the angular resolution of what he's looking at, and he brings the coin back into vision. And then he's going to bring it back, and it's going to appear from the top up. So he puts it up, and you can't see it anymore. Zooms in. So I think that's a good demonstration of how that happens. Bottom up disappearance, because some people have issues with that. It doesn't make sense. That also makes sense on a ball. For things to disappear bottom up, but that's how I would explain the ships over the horizon and bottom up disappearance.
Well, Manuel says compression is the best visual. I don't really know what he means by that.
I'm not sure completely. Compression.
Natash is asking to look at the map of the UN flag. I think you looked at that.
Yeah, I showed that
briefly earlier, but
pull it up again though.
Jube says, Nikolas, can you explain how not everyone needs to be in on it via compartmentalization?
Yes, give me 1 sec. I'll show them the flag, the map.
Of course.
The UN flag.
Let me know when you're ready. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the UN logo, and that is a conceptual map of the flat Earth. That's it's an azimuthal projection of the globe. So it's basically the same kind of distances, and that's the same as that. So that's also Gleason's new standard map of the world, and that's the best map we got. And coincidentally, it's also the UN logo. As for what was the other question?
Sorry.
Not everyone needs to be in on it. It's a top-down thing. Only the highest up people would need to. Even the people at NASA, they think that they're sending rockets into space. They're doing the math as if they are. They're not. They don't have to be in on it. Your teacher doesn't have to be in on it. If it's like a good analogy is like if we're mates as children, let's say we're 10, 11 years old, and I come to you and I say, hey, bro, I found adoption papers at my house and DNA tests. My parents aren't my real parents. I'm adopted. And you tell me what? Everyone must be in on it. Everyone thinks that they're your parents. They didn't know. They just believe it as well. So that's a good analogy, I think. That just shows not everyone has to be in on it. Did someone say show evidence? And not
sorry. Prodigy is saying he's giving you credit, saying at least you give evidence and not just saying the Earth is flat because NASA lies, which we said that saying that it's that these things that are purporting the modern cosmology have been known to lie, or that they are dubious or immoral doesn't disprove them. It's evidence.
Yeah. It's it's not even evidence that it's flat. I would say it's just discrediting that as evidence of a globe. It's just
right. That's what I meant.
Yeah. No, I get you. Yeah.
Manuel, I think he's trying to clarify the compression thing earlier. Some have problem with why it only distorts horizontally, and that is because the image compression happens on the medium. The table in between is horizontal. Does that make sense to you? I feel like I'd have to read that a few times.
Somewhat. I guess.
I think he's talking about the quarter video with the table, I think.
Yeah, it's bottom down because that's how the angular resolution is of your eyes and of cameras and whatnot.
And Moldy Apple is asking, what are we going to learn here today?
Did he just get here?
I think he just got here. Yeah.
Okay. Well, another.
What do you want to learn?
Yeah. What do you want to learn? But an interesting thing is that all relevant scientists will tell you that it is actually, we haven't proven that the Earth is not geocentric, right? It could be a geocentric universe. Like, let's just say it's not a ball, but let's just say it was. Even in their model, it is equally valid to say that the Earth isn't moving and everything else is. I got a quote from Einstein. Whether or not the motion of the Earth in space can be made perceptible in terrestrial experiments, all attempts of this nature led to a negative result. So that's him admitting that we've never proven that the Earth is actually in motion in space. Stephen Hawking said, one can use either picture as a model of the universe, for our observations of the heavens can be explained by assuming either the Earth or the sun to be at rest. We've got Edwin Hubble. Now, this is quite an interesting one because it gets into a bit of the philosophy of these people, these atheist people, these secular people who come to science with their presuppositions and they want to push that on everyone as well. So we got Edwin Hubble. Such a condition would imply, and he's referring to like the central position of the Earth in the universe, like a geocentric position. Such a condition would imply that we occupy a unique position in the universe, analogous in a sense to the ancient conception of a central Earth. The hypothesis cannot be disproven, but it is unwelcome and would only be accepted as a last resort in order to save the phenomena. Therefore, we disregard this possibility and consider the alternative, namely a distribution which thins out with distance. The unwelcome superstition of a favored location must be avoided at all costs. So even in their paradigm under relativity, they have not proven that the Earth isn't in the center. It very well could be, and it makes more sense that it is, but I'll get into that in a second. But that just shows these people, this isn't science. Admittedly, there is no proof that we're not in the center. So them to tell children, you're actually not, you're chasing the sun, we could be in the center. On their model, if I even conceded everything, we would still be, possibly in the center. And then as for why it would actually make more sense that we're in the center, the reason we have something called dark energy is because when Edwin Hubble and these scientists looked in the stars and looked in the sky, they saw that everything was moving in relation to Earth. It looked visibly like we were in the center of the universe. And I'm not just saying the stars were rotating around us, like the red shift and the actual movements of the supposed galaxies, because that's just how they're interpreting it. The distances and everything was moving in relation to Earth. That was a big problem. One of the answers was we're actually in the center of the universe. Another one was that it's like, imagine drawing polka dots on a balloon and blowing the balloon up. It's going to look like you're in the center from everywhere. So they had to go with that one because they have to avoid the geocentric position at all costs, they say. So they went with that, and now they've had to invoke that the universe is expanding 8 times the speed of light in all directions. This is what they believe now. Obviously, there's no energy or anything that could possibly be known to do that. So they just put a mathematical band-aid and call it dark matter, or dark energy, sorry. So now supposedly the universe is made up of 68% dark energy, which we can never prove, never test, never find. And it just has to be there. Otherwise, the Earth is in the center of everything.
It seems like if they were actually trying to do objective science and try to understand the natural world, that if there's these two different competing paradigms, that they would try to test both and try to do research that would be aligning with the competing different models so they could see which one would be closer to a descriptive truth of physical reality. It seems like it has to be some kind of agenda or some kind of narrative that's being pushed if these people who are objective scientists are saying we are trying to avoid at all cost of looking at it through this description.
It shows a philosophical bias. This is a philosophical decision that we are not in the center, that we're just, we don't occupy a special position. We're just tucked away in the corner somewhere of this ever-expanding giant vacuum. And that's actually, there's no proof of that whatsoever. Like they admit it can't be proven, and the geocentric position can't be disproven. So that's a good illustration of how this isn't like a science. This is a philosophical thing, specifically that,
I think, like you mentioned earlier, like this, the globe Earth, from your perspective, is used as some kind of Trojan horse to bring in this nihilism and this atheism. And I think like it can, but I still don't think it's like foolproof shot, because like even I've seen several atheists, that's a very common objection to Christianity, and to me it doesn't really make logical sense because it's a perspective, and it's like you said, like all this millions and millions of stars and galaxies, and what does it work, like what does it mean? It's useless. But I mean, an easy explanation, if let's grant everything in the modern cosmology, globe Earth, everything. There's all these other billions of stars and galaxies. It's for God's glory. God created it just for us to look up and marvel at. And an atheist will hear that and be like, "Well, they're not worth anything for me. I can't get their minerals. I can't get the resources. They don't help me in my life." So like it's just like this glass half empty look, and it's not a real logical argument. It's like a disposition within that paradigm.
Completely agree. But unfortunately, people are so easily led astray and deceived that they have actually fallen for this, and for the belief that maybe there's aliens that created us. People actually, that's ridiculous now. We're getting into absurdity. They can't substantiate evolution or the theory of life generating from non-life, specifically spontaneous generation. They can't substantiate that in any way. So they're now moving to like a panspermia thing, where maybe aliens just fertilize this planet. Just pushes the problem back a step. Where did the aliens come from? Who created them?
Right.
Because it doesn't work.
Infinite regress.
Right? Exactly. This atheistic paradigm doesn't work, full stop. But the only thing that could even possibly make people deceived into thinking it could be is a globe Earth. Like you can't be a flat earther and think that we came from monkeys and rocks. It just doesn't happen.
Or aliens,
or aliens. Yeah, it's completely absurd.
I'm going to finish this tangent up if we can wrap it up. Well, Manuel says, yes, the coin, you can see the bottom kind of compresses. So in other examples, like the electrical tower grids, you can see the bottom distorted. Where objects meet at the horizon, they compress, distort a little, but some use this to say the photos are fake instead is repeatable even in your kitchen table.
I think he's
referring to that video, I believe you're saying earlier.
Or is he?
I believe so. I think he's just trying to say it in other words.
Yeah, that's true. The image is compressed.
Oma says, have you heard of Jason Leslie?
I'm not sure. No. Who is he or what does he do? I'm not too sure.
Yeah, give us a link or follow up with that. Have you seen that model? It's like a GIF, or I don't know if it's like what the original footage or source is. I don't know if it's NASA, but it's like the model of the Earth and the Sun in our solar system moving, spirating in 3D space, just all of it together. Have you seen that before?
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know if we could pull that up. That looking at it, you're like, is every single thing's doing this at the same time? It's a little hard to wrap your head around that. Yeah, the corkscrew, everything. Because when just trying to think of how everything would have its gravitational pull, everything bigger would pulling on other things. How would that?
I don't have a video. I'm sure there'd be one on YouTube though. But
I've seen it before.
We never see any deviation in the stars. They follow their path. They have for all recorded history. Polaris lines up with geographic structures like the Georgia Guidestones before they got destroyed. The pyramids, the stars line up. We know that they haven't deviated. If we were spiraling through space, chasing the sun, on the other side of the sun, and then here and then there, you would absolutely see a difference in the star trails. It wouldn't be a uniform pattern always. It's perfect spirals.
Okay, so we got Mars and Earth and all of the different planets. They're going. Has to be why would there even be that axis if it's all relative in space anyways?
Why would it be flat? Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's just to me, it's like even just saying that it's on this axis is assuming some flat thing. I mean, why wouldn't that just be the zero?
What's the reference frame to judge that axis from as well?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Look, that's chaos. Look at the stars around. You would absolutely see different stars. They say they're so far away that you wouldn't. That's the steel man. They say they're just so far away that you wouldn't see a change. But after 5,000 years, 4,000 years, you would.
All of these little stars going around this yellow would also have to be doing the same exact thing.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. How could you know that? If we actually just ask them, how did you figure that out? There isn't an answer. 230.
Give it enough time, it'll happen.
Yeah, that's right.
I love that argument. Just how does this happen? Give me millions of years. Okay, well, how does it happen? Well, enough time. It's got to happen. I mean, I'm sure 10 monkeys in a room over 10 million years with a typewriter, they will produce all of Shakespeare. I mean, it just has to happen. Enough time, it'll happen.
Of course, yeah.
Have we heard of luminescence? Sonoluminescence? I have not.
Really.
At least I have not. I don't recognize it.
No.
Jason Leslie is an astrophysicist, creationist. He has some interesting takes.
Okay, I might look into him. I guess that's good on him.
Is there any? I don't see any other questions or anything. If you guys have any, feel free to chime in. I've got Nikolas here for at least another 15 minutes.
About that, yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Is there any? I've gone through basically all of my questions, or at least they were touched on. Is there any place you want to take it?
I wouldn't mind going through a couple scriptures, a couple Bible
verses. Of course.
So if we go to Job 38:14, the earth takes. I might even pull this up because it's a good illustration. Show what it would be. Give me 1 second. Here we are. The Earth takes shape like clay under a seal. Its features stand out like those of a garment. That is a, clay pressed under a seal. This is what kings used to sign their letters with, right? That doesn't look like a globe. That in no way can you get that. You would have to say it's like completely got nothing to do with the shape of the Earth, and it's like you know, a real metaphoric verse, I guess. That makes more sense on a, that's actually what I would say our Earth is like. That is an accurate kind of depiction. I showed this earlier. This one, I guess, is just, this isn't proof at all. I'm just going through it. But the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world. That, it might not be obviously literal, but it's interesting. Here we go with a couple more. So, the world is firmly established. It cannot be moved. Praise him, you highest heavens and you waters above the heavens. The Lord reigns, he is clothed with majesty. The Lord has clothed and girthed himself with strength. Indeed, the world is firmly established. It will not be moved. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. That's actually on the gravestone of Werner von Braun, one of the guys who I think invented the rocket. He was a major player with NASA. That's an interesting verse, because obviously we claim that the firmament is the dome. So in Joshua, the sun stood still and the moon stayed. It doesn't say the earth stopped rotating. The waters are divided. Obviously, in Genesis, we understand God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above, and it was so. So that's I obviously interpret that as like literally there are waters above and waters below. Ancient Hebrew conception. This is basically the understanding. If you give me 1 minute, I'm going to pull up the Church Fathers quotes. I'll try to find them.
Prodigy is asking, when did you start believing in this, and what was it that did it for you? You kind of touched on the beginning, but was there a specific thing that made you like go from skepticism to belief?
Well, the thing that made me actually able to look into it was seeing NASA's fraud and them, their CGI and whatnot. That didn't prove in any way that it was flat, obviously, right? But that just made me open the door and be like, okay, let's take a step back and actually assess what's going on here. But it was around the time, maybe a bit into COVID, probably, because I started getting into the whole, this is wrong, this isn't true, something's going on here, right. And then you go down the whole kind of rabbit hole a little bit. And then that popped up and some people started saying that the earth is flat. And at first I completely dismissed it. I was like, that's ridiculous. This is like got to be a psyop or something. But then, after being presented with a whole heap of arguments, and then it was really the thing that opened the doors were the NASA fraud stuff, like NASA CGI fails and whatnot. A lot of people have probably seen that by now. But the arguments that were pretty convincing to me that we're not on a ball were just the observations. We don't see, we see way too far. And just hearing people ad hoc invoke refraction with no specificity, because refraction is light bends toward the denser medium. The denser medium is lower, right? It's the closest to the ground, especially over water. If we're talking about over water, then the denser medium is going to be lowest to the ground. So just saying refraction as if it's magically going to bring the image up, theoretically the light is being pushed down. It's not coming up. That I wasn't particularly satisfied with the ad hoc use of the word refraction.
Prodigy is saying people like to disprove NASA images because they're colorized.
No, I have no problem with that. I could show, where they replicate clouds, they've got the same clouds pasted on different bowls, and the sizes of the countries are different, which I understand. People say it's how far you take the photo from to steelman their position. They say that if you go closer, it's going to look like the thing's bigger than if you go further. But the problem with that is that the size, if you draw on a supposed real, accurate globe, the size of, I'll show the cone clouds. If you draw the size of what NASA's showing us, it's like the ball's like that, and it's like a tiny little circle. So if nothing else, it absolutely does prove that at that distance you wouldn't be able to see a curve, right?
Did they really do the Disney thing and wrote bad word in clouds?
They did. I'll pull it up. Obama posted it on his Twitter.
And Jube, I have that Church Fathers thing. I'm at section 9. Could you? I don't know exactly what I'm reading here. Do you want to give a little blurb of what it is before I read it? It's kind of long. But go on, Nikolas.
Give me 1 sec. I'm just pulling up that image of NASA.
While we're doing this little break, while Nikolas is getting that pulled up, if anybody wants to support the channel, I have the link to my Cash App pinned. Feel free to support me. It's very much appreciated. If you'd like to help me get off this cold back deck of mine so we can stop hearing the rooster interrupting, I need some money to build a studio. I have the spot. I've got the foundation. I just need to buy some supplies. It'd be much appreciated. You can leave a message. I will read it out as if it's a super chat. We don't have those unlocked yet. Yes, even NASA admits that it's photoshopped. Why, if they have a Hubble telescope taking photos of things millions of light years away, can't they just go take real photos of Earth from space? His name is not Harold. He is Huey Magoo. That is his name.
Okay, I've got that image up now.
Okay.
So this is the that was posted. There's the...
So this is directly from NASA.
Directly from NASA, yeah. This image, I haven't got the photo of Obama posting it, but he did post it on his Twitter. If anyone wants to look that up, they can probably see it. But there's the harness for people who didn't see that. This was in the back of a documentary. This wasn't, they didn't think they were filming this. That's why it's so blurry. It's in the very background, and someone screenshotted that and saw that this guy was, playing with a green ball behind in clearly a digital studio. And then the next day, they're showing the same bloke fiddling with a ball on the ISS. This is another one, probably the most in space you could possibly feel by being in a glass dome. I know there's a glass dome there, but it's kind of it's a bit funny because we actually believe in a glass dome, not glass, but in a dome. Pressure makes things explode in a vacuum. Why are there no stars in this picture? People claim that NASA, we've never seen stars from space. People claim that the image, it's just too bright, right? And you can't see it because it's too bright. But it's just kind of, look, where is the brightness there? They say that you can't see the stars in any picture because I don't actually know why. They don't have a good explanation, but we've never seen stars from space. I would love to see them. But I feel like that if they did that, it's so hard to fake that. You would be caught out almost instantly if you tried to fake that. Here is Photoshop cloning the clouds. If you give me 1 second, I'll find
of course.
Another one. Here they this one's bad. They copy pasted pretty much the exact cloud sequence. I don't know why they do this. They get $60 million or $1 billion a year and they still can't do this properly, but give me 1 sec.
If anybody can help me figure out the PayPal thing, I have it here and it says I can do a QR code. I don't know if I can do like a URL. I'm here on the app. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a geriatric millennial. I apologize.
Okay.
You mean to pull this up?
Yeah. So this is the Blue Marble 2007. This is 2001. They're the sources for the images. You can these are NASA images, right? That is absolutely the same cloud sequence. You can look at it. It's in a different position. You see the two little things here. That's the same there. You've got that piece just above it. Exact same shape, same composition. Quite literally, this is the same cloud.
Very, very similar.
So it looks a bit distorted because it's on a different spot, but if you focus down like these parts, that is undoubtedly the same. See this one here? That's right there. If you can see my mouse.
Yeah, I can.
There's a crack in between this little fuzz. There's
you can see that.
There's like a line here, and then that shape there. It's exactly the same thing. It's quite literally the same exact exact photo. And they
Prodigy is saying that earlier you can't see the stars because they're so dim. The camera cannot gather enough light for the short exposure.
Why? Why would they be dim? There's no atmosphere to stop it from shining through. That doesn't make any sense. It's like
Nicholas,
saying
go on. Sorry.
cold moonlight. This is a really good one. I saw a bunch of people claiming that the moonlight was colder, and I wasn't sure because people who believe in the globe just dispute it. They say it wasn't done correctly, or it didn't happen. It was completely falsified. They claim that whatever is causing the shadow is actually trapping heat above the surface, and that's why the surface is warmer in the shade than it is in the open moonlight. I do a trade, right, where I actually have access to one of these cameras. It's called a FLIR camera. It's like a $3,000 thermal camera. So I took this when it was a full moon, and I've got videos and stuff of it. I can pull that up in a minute.
Yeah, as long as you've got time.
Yeah, I tested it actually. Yeah, true. I tested it personally. I went to a local car park, and I tested the asphalt. Okay, so the same surface I was testing, the points that I was testing were like maybe a meter away, meter and a half. One was in shade, one was not. And I was walking up and down maybe a 5-meter strip just testing this, right? The shadow was cast from a tree, which was 20 meters away. That is not trapping heat into the asphalt. Absolutely not, because that's their claim. They say that whatever is causing the shadow is actually trapping the heat. And that's why the thing that you're testing is warmer in the shade than it is in the open moonlight, right? Does that make sense?
I think so.
So
I mean, I'd probably have to. I don't know. It's something. And it's yeah. I don't know. I don't have a grasp of it, but I think it would make sense. I couldn't explain it.
Let's say you got an umbrella, right? And you're you're in a car park. You put an umbrella down, and you test the asphalt directly or the ground under the umbrella, and then you test 10 meters away in the open air. They say that the umbrella is trapping the heat, so that's going to be hotter. That in the shade it'll be warmer, right? Than the open. I eliminated that variable by making the shadow cast by an object which is 20 meters away. So it wasn't. There's no argument to be made that that's trapping heat, obviously, right? And the moonlight is undoubtedly colder. It's a full degree Celsius on average colder. It is a different light, and the sun obviously emits a hot light. You can't.
I see. So this is about the moon being a reflection of the sun's light.
Yeah.
I didn't even get that. Maybe I was.
Should have prefaced. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Maybe you said it and I just didn't catch it.
No. So basically, they claim that the moon is reflecting the sun's light. The sun is a hot light. Okay. At worst, the moonlight would have no effect. You cannot get a cold emitting light. It shouldn't. It's not possible, right? If I get a mirror and I reflect sunlight onto a table, it's going to be hot. The light there is going to be hot. If I get it's like a basic principle. It's the same light that's coming at you. It's emitting a warm light. The moonlight is colder. Absolutely, it is. I encourage anyone to test this if they can. It's you might need, I don't know how you could do it, maybe some normal thermometers, but it is absolutely colder. I'll see if I can pull up a photo. I'm not sure if I have it here though. But then I've got a couple things on the moon, so to prove that the moon isn't what they claim it is.
And Jube is asking if anybody's heard about the lunar wave.
Lunar wave. Maybe be a bit more. If you say a little bit more, I might get it. Moonlight. Okay, here. Cold moonlight. Okay. Okay, I'll pull it up now.
Okay.
So this is just a depiction of what I did. This is basically an illustration of what I did. So the moon's there, the moon's shining light, right? This is asphalt. So it's a car park, obviously. There's nothing around me for 20 meters.
How did you pronounce that? Asphalt?
Asphalt.
How did you pronounce asphalt?
Asphalt. Yeah, that's how we say it here.
I gotcha.
It's like the road, what the road's made of, right?
Yeah.
So this area is all moonlight, and this area is obviously in shade by the tree from the moon. It's a full moon, and this is the results. Now, literally the only thing that people can do to reconcile this and still believe in a globe is deny that I did it correctly, which I have no doubt that people would do. But This is what happened. So I used this camera, the $3,000 FLIR thermal imaging camera, to test the moonlight and moon shade in a car park. The surface was asphalt. It was at 12 a.m. It was a waning gibbous. I looked it up. So the moon is 90.46% visible. The moonlight temperature, it was an average of 9.2, but this reading was 8.5 degrees Celsius. So I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit. And then the moon shade temperature was absolutely warmer. It was I measured 10.3. The average I was getting was about 10.5 degrees. I was moving up and down along maybe a 5-10 meter space. It was the same surface, so there's no argument to be made that the surface was holding heat differently. There was no obstructions, as I showed, here. There's no reason that should be warmer than here. It's exposed to the same kind of air, right? The tree is not going to be, so I've eliminated that factor. Pretty much, that is actually the, and in Genesis it says, and God made two great lights, a greater light to rule the day and a lesser light to rule the night. So yeah, this is from just ChatGPT. If it was demonstrated that the moon emits a cold light, it would challenge our current understanding of lunar illumination, suggesting that we need to reevaluate our models of how the moon interacts with sunlight. It could also prompt further investigation into the properties of moonlight and its effects on temperature, perception, and the surrounding environment. So they actually deny this, right? People, the Globe response, I've heard this brought up in debates, right? And it was just denied, and you didn't do it right, and you're not a scientist, you don't know how to do the experiment correctly. And I was kind of in the fortunate position where I could test this myself, and I went and did that, and that was like a clear as day. That's irreconcilable with the Globe. That the whole model necessitates that the moon reflect the sun's light.
Prodigy says props for doing your own experiment, not just using Google.
Thank you. Yeah, and I've got another one on the moon. I think I can sufficiently prove that it's not. Hang on a second.
Jupe says he'll find some source for it. Lunar wave is where periodically there's a wave that traverses the moon's surface. It looks like a ripple in water.
I thought you were talking about that. Yeah. So the belief is that the moon and the sun are fixed in the firmament. I don't know the medium of the firmament or the medium in between us and there. There could be some sort of, superfluid, which is a thing that you can demonstrate. But there's plenty of. That's perfectly okay. I'm perfectly okay with that happening. A lunar wave, a little thing go across the moon. So that's perfectly consistent as well. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull this up.
Yeah, of course. I'm going to go ahead and read some of this. We have to read all of it, maybe, but this is something Jube wanted me to read. Okay. But as far as it concerns the separations of the waters, I am obliged to contest the opinion of certain writers in the Church who, under the shadow of high and sublime conceptions, have launched out into metaphor and have only seen in the waters a figure to denote spiritual and corporal powers. In the higher regions above the firmament dwell the better. In the lower regions, earth and matter are the dwelling place of the malignant. So say they, God is praised by the waters that are above the heaven, that is to say, by the good powers, the purity of those whose soul makes them worthy to sing the praises of God. And the waters which are under the heaven represent the wicked spirits who from their natural height have fallen into the abyss of evil.
So what was the firmament in that? Dividing the good from the evil? Did it say? I didn't hear that bit.
The waters which are under the heaven represent the wicked spirits who from their natural height have fallen into the abyss of evil. So
the firmament would be metaphoric? What would that be? Distinction between good and evil people? I'm not sure.
Turbulent, seditious, agitated by the tumultuous waves of passion, they have received the name of sea because of the instability and the inconstancy of their movements. Let us reject these theories as dreams in old women's tales. Let us understand that by water is meant. For the dividing of waters by the firmament, let us accept the reason which has been given to us. Although, however, waters above the heaven are invited to give glory to the Lord of the universe, do not let us think of them as intelligent beings. The heavens are not alive because they declare the glory of God, nor the firmament a sensible being because it shows his handiwork. And if they tell you that the heavens mean contemplative powers, and the firmament active powers which produce good, we admire the theory as ingenious without being able to acknowledge the truth of it. For thus do the frost cold, and heat, which is in Daniel, are ordered to praise the Creator of all things, will be intelligent and invisible natures. But this is only a figure, accepted as such by enlightened minds, to complete the glory of the Creator. Besides the waters above the heavens, these waters, privileged by the virtue which they possess in themselves, are not only waters to celebrate the praises of God. Praise the Lord from the praise the Lord from the earth, you dragons and all deeps. Thus the singer of the Psalms does not reject the deeps, which are inventors of allegories, rank in their divisions of evil. He admits them to the universal choir of creation, and the deeps sing in their language a harmonious hymn to the glory of the Creator. I'm not sure who wrote this. It might have said at the top. Oh, that's the Hexamerion by, who was that again? Basil, St. Basil.
I just want to show, I found that thing on the moon. Give me 1 minute. This is quite interesting. So feel free to pull this up when you're ready. So this is light reflecting off a sphere. This is the moon. The moon is consistently lit up. It doesn't have a hotspot like we see here, right? So every single time we see, like, look at that. There's no hotspot there. It is lit up consistently, right? The laws of reflection necessitate that if it's on a convex reflective surface, more light will be emitted directly back, causing a hotspot. This light isn't going to be hitting the person here. The light is not going to be dispersed evenly. It wouldn't be even. It would have a hotspot. Here's a good little image of that. So this is where all the light's hitting it. It would absolutely have a hotspot if it's a ball. Any time you see a sphere reflecting light, absolutely will have a hotspot. Never, ever will it be demonstrated that there is a light reflecting off a sphere without a hotspot. So that's another thing that doesn't work on the globe model. You know, if the moon's a rock or a sphere reflecting the sunlight directly back at us to the point where, and it is reflecting brightly, because some people will say it's not reflecting bright enough to do that. It is reflecting bright enough to light up clouds and the ground. You know, you can see in moonlight sometimes when it's bright enough, when it's a full moon. So that coupled with the temperature of the moonlight, I think thoroughly refutes what they claim the moon is.
It looks like Jube sent a video of that lunar wave. It's going to take me a second for me to pull it up here. Okay, I got it. Here we go.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's quite interesting.
What the heck is that?
I'm not sure. It could be, yeah, I guess it could be, as I said, we don't know the medium. It could be some kind of thing to do with the firmament. It's quite interesting, that.
What do y'all think? I don't even know what to make of this. Let's see. Somebody said it's interesting how we've only seen one side of the moon. I think that's because if we saw the other side, obviously we'd be seeing this, and nobody wants to see that. So
yeah, I've got a quote from Saint John Chrysostom. But on the other hand, the sun, with the rest of the stars, runs on his course every day, and again the earth is fixed, but the waters are continually in motion. And not the waters only, but the clouds, and the frequent and successive showers, which return at their proper season. So that's just a bit of support from there. And
did you get through all of the verses you wanted to? Sorry to interrupt you. Go on.
Yeah, I guess that I kind of covered. I mean, I showed a few verses that say the earth isn't moving and whatnot. So yeah, you got your Chronicles. The earth he has fixed the earth immovable. Psalm 93:1, thou hast fixed the earth immovable and firm. Psalm 96:10, he has fixed the earth firm, immovable. Isaiah 45:18, he who made the earth and fashioned it and fixed it fast, himself fixed it fast. So yeah, I think a couple of verses support, at least, maybe not prove, but they definitely support a stationary earth in the center of everything.
All right. Well, we've been going on for 2 hours. I know you've got liturgy coming up there. It's Sunday morning for you. It's Saturday afternoon for me. I don't want to keep you too much longer away from where you need to go. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up? Any closing thoughts? I don't know if I got everybody in the comments, but anything you want to leave off with, Nikolas?
I'm pretty happy with how it went. I really appreciate and respect you for giving it a fair shake. Not a lot of people dismiss this and want to take the route of making fun of people who believe this, but having an honest conversation, I think it's really profitable, and I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like I was frustrated in that video I saw you in. Like I said earlier, just wanted to hear people's take, even if nobody agrees or whatever. I just want to be able to hear it.
Yeah, completely.
Someone's asking if there's any way to contact you. Is that something that you?
If they can contact, who wanted to contact me?
Jube. I know him personally. I can give you
send in my details.
Okay, I can do that personally.
Yeah, so. That sounds good. But yeah, I'm very happy with how it went today, and I really appreciate it. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, of course. Well, like I said, if anybody wants to support the channel, I've got different methods to do that. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. Thanks, Nikolas, for showing up, taking time out of your early morning. And I think we'll end the stream now. Everybody have a good one. See ya, Manuel. See ya, Bill Hicks. Peace out, everybody.
Thank you.